Hi, this is Joe again with another movie review, and to continue my one on my theme of talking about Academy Award winning films, I'm going to talk about another one from the 1960s. In my previous review, I talked about the Academy Award winning film in 1964, which was My Fair Lady. Now I'm going to talk about the Academy Award winning film of the very next year, which was 1965, and that is, of course, the classic The Sound of Music. Of course, most recently, The Sound of Music became popular again because of the recent live stage version of the film that was aired on NBC, starring Carrie Underwood in the role of Maria. Excuse me. Of course, the 1965 version starred excuse me. I'm getting over a cold, so excuse me. So it's Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer. And of course, this is the classic Academy Award winning version of it. And of course, this is about a 2-hour and 52-minute film. And of course, which I didn't know about, because I thought this was how anybody was. I thought The Sound of Music was a story about a singing family who escapes from the Nazis. I thought it was a fictional story. Of course, the music was written by Rodgers and Hammerstein. The famous Oscar Hammerstein musical. Of course, the leading role in the original Broadway show was Mary Moran, who played the Maria role. Of course, in the movie version, of course, you have Christopher Plummer and Julie Andrews, like I mentioned earlier. And of course, this goes on the heels of, I think I'm not exactly 100% sure, but I think this is really the last really great movie version of an Oscar Hammerstein musical. Because I think just when this movie came out, or just before it came out, I think Oscar Hammerstein died just before it came out, just after it came out. So this was the last really great Oscar Hammerstein musical that was transferred to the screen. Like I said, I didn't know. Most of the popular movies that run for Best Picture now was either based on a novel that got from a previous review of Gone with the Wind or Forrest Gump, or based on a Broadway musical like Sound of Music, or based on a true story. And Sound of Music happened to be both, based on a Broadway musical and based on a true story, which I didn't even know about until quite recently when I saw, I think, the grandchildren or great-grandchildren of the Von Trapp family were still performing, I think, in New Hampshire. I think in a theater up in New Hampshire. Well, back to the actual story itself. The actual story was there was this soon-to-be nun who was named Maria. I don't know what her last name was, but in the movie, in the Broadway show, she was just known as Maria. She wasn't even given a last name. But she wanted to become a nun, and of course, some of the nuns in the abbey in Austria wasn't quite sure what exactly to do with her. So naturally, of course, they sang a song. What do you do about Maria? As a matter of fact, one of the nuns with the short nun with the who wore the glasses, was the singer who dubbed the singing voice for Audrey Hepburn in My Fair Lady, and dubbed the singing voice for Natalie Wood in West Side Story. So if you look for, especially in the beginning sequence when they do the song What do we do about Maria, the short, fat nun who wore the glasses dubbed for Audrey Hepburn and for Natalie Wood. So a little bit of trivia in that particular scene. Well, so they decided to send Maria out into the world and to assign her as a governess. Well, in Austria, instead of calling them a nanny, they call them a steward, not a steward, a governess. Call them a governess for 7 children, all fathered by a former naval hero in the Austrian Navy named Captain von Trapp, Georg. Not Gay. I thought it was Gaylord, but it was Georg. Georg von Trapp, played by Christopher Plummer, and he has 7 children. Unfortunately, without a mother, because his wife died, and it wasn't sure. It wasn't specified, at least in the movie version. It wasn't specified how she died. And so she goes, oh my goodness. So Julianne goes, oh my goodness, 7 children. My God, 7 children, you know? So she goes to the house and sees how big the house is. Oh boy, oh help. And of course she made, like only in the movies really, she made almost an instant connection with practically all the kids. And the kids pulled all these small pranks on the governesses, and you see all the pranks that they pull on Julie Andrews. And of course, I think it does about this is really my first I watched the Hammerstein movie that I'm reviewing on YouTube. So, and it always seems to me that watching the Hammerstein musical, you always have to have a couple of young lovers. First, you have the adult love story between Maria and Captain von Trapp. Well, you also have to have like a young love story to draw in the younger audiences. And you did it with Liesl, played with Carmine Carr, who was the hottie, hottie in the movie, and her boyfriend, who was also like a telegram messenger, name of oh shoot, I forgot the guy's name. France? No, not France. Well, we're sure going to get it. We keep talking about this movie. And of course, the 2 lovers meet in the gazebo and do the song "You Are 16, Going to Be 17." This is one of the more popular songs. I don't think it really is a bad song in the whole film. And I said, and of course, it looks like that the boyfriend, Liesl's boyfriend, was going to turn into a Nazi, and you can see it almost early on. He was going to be joining the Nazis, because this was at the time when the Nazis were gaining strength and starting to invade countries. And of course, Austria was next on the hit list. And there were some Austrians who ended up joining the Nazis. And of course, Liesl's boyfriend was one of them. And you see in the end, Ralph. That was the boyfriend's name. That's Ralph. And of course, you have Ralph and Liesl, so 2 young lovers in the film. And of course, eventually, one by one, you see Maria gain the trust of all the children. But in reality, what I found out was that the father, Captain von Trapp, was more of the Maria personality in real life, and Maria, the real life Maria, was more like the Captain von Trapp personality. And you see, when you first meet Captain von Trapp, the stern, old Navy guy. That was what Maria's real life personality was. The real life Maria von Trapp. And the real life Captain von Trapp was what Maria's personality was. Pretty much throughout the whole film. So now a little bit of trivia on that aspect. And of course, she gains the trust of the children. Well, in that time, Captain von Trapp had a girlfriend named the Baroness, and he did propose marriage, and they weren't. Of course, the story eventually get engaged. And of course, what And of course, the Baron, when the woman think the Barons, he was Eleanor Parker, who died recently. I think starting in 2012 or 2013, she died. The actress who played the part died. And of course, there was a little bit of jealousy thing going on there between the two of them, because the Baroness saw how the Maria and Georg were falling in love with each other. And of course, Maria didn't want to admit it because she wanted to go and be a nun. But of course, we all know what happens. Eventually, they broke off the engagement, and Maria marries, Captain Von Trapp. So we know that's going to happen. Now, of course, eventually, just after during when they arranged for the honeymoon for about a month, whatever it was, the Nazis took over Austria. And of course, they want Captain Von Trapp to join the Navy, and join the German Navy. Of course, Georg didn't want to join. He's in Austria. He does not want to be a part of the Nazis because he found out how evil the Nazis were. So there's no way in hell that he wanted to join the Nazis. So he decides to conceive of a plan to escape Austria and go to Switzerland, and then eventually the United States, which eventually they did in reality. But in the movie, they just want to go to Austria because Austria is a neutral country and never took sides in pretty much any war. But then they found out that the Uncle Max, of course, you might recognize him as being in another Academy Award-winning film, which I might maybe get to, which was Casablanca. And he decides to put the family into the singing competition, and of course, which eventually they won. But the other acts, the one who finished in second and third place, delayed the whole thing long enough so that the family could escape. And they escaped to the Abbey. And of course, that's where you see the scene where Ralph turns into a Nazi, or joined the Nazis, and they had the confrontation between Ralph and Captain Von Trapp, which is a very good scene because I just love Christopher Plummer's voice and how he was able to control himself and slowly approach Ralph and use that voice of his on the soft voice of his to convince Ralph to join with us, or you go on and do this. I know that's not in you to kill me. Because Ralph held a gun to Captain Von Trapp, so I'm going to shoot you, I'm going to kill you if you come any closer. And then eventually they charged, and it was a real big fight, fist fight scene, which normally today would probably be a full-force fight scene. But it wasn't, fight for a gun, and maybe Ralph got shot and they escaped. But it didn't happen, and Captain Von Trapp grabs the gun, but then he says to him, "You'll never be one of them." And that's when Ralph yells, "Lieutenant! Lieutenant, they're here!" And of course that's when they escape, and they escape to the mountains, and they climb over the mountains on foot, and that's how the movie ends. But to say that this movie is too saccharine, and too sweet, and it's so sweet you end up in a diabetic coma. Well, I mean, you could say that, but of course, in those days, in 1960s, you didn't really have all that much cursing in movies. And if they did, they probably would have a whole bunch of cursing, and won't be as sweet as it was portrayed in the film or even the Broadway musical. But in the movie version of The Kids, you recognize Angela Cartwright, who later on was in Lost in Space, the television show. And of course, you could also look who played one of the children. And of course, the oldest son, who played Frederick in the movie version. Later on, about 13 years later, played Spider-Man on television. He was the first actor actor to really play Spider-Man in a live-action setting, other than maybe in the Electric Company television show that aired back in the 70s, because they had a Spider-Man segment on the original Electric Company show. But he played Spider-Man for a 13-episode series that aired on CBS. So if you see Nick, the older son, Frederick, who played with Nicholas Hammond, who was the original actor who played Spider-Man. And of course, in the first Spider-Man movie in 2002, which I previously did a review on, apparently there was a cameo by him, but it was like so fast. In the original Green Goblin attack in Times Square, if you like blink, you missed him. It was like a faster cameo than Stan Lee. But that's my review of the Sound of Music. If you've never seen the original film, check it out. It was also recently on television. ABC recently aired it. But I think it would have been great for ABC anyway if they put. Well, recently NBC used to air this movie for years, but then for the last, let's say, 10, 12 years or so, ABC has been airing. I think in the last 15 years or so, ABC has been airing this movie. So it would have been great if when NBC had their live-action version with Carrie Underwood, they should have put this one up against it and see which version people would turn in more to see. Another thing I said, that's my review of The Sound of Music. Please check it out if you haven't, and please check out my other videos. Like them and subscribe to my channel. And thank you for watching.